in the Grand Championship, as you see Bryce Remsburg holding that title up over his head.
The Chikara Grand Championship. From its creation in 2011 to its end in 2020, this served as the greatest prize in all of Chikara, an independent wrestling promotion that leaned very much into all the goofiness and chicanery that pro wrestling has to offer, but amplified to the max. Plans were put in place in terms of deciding the first Grand Champion in February, and a round-robin tournament was set in November to crown the first champion, and that is what we will be discussing in today's video. This topic is part of a poll that I held a couple of weeks ago in my community tab, and it won by a very wide margin. So if you would like to help decide videos in the future, please be sure to keep an eye out for any future polls in the community tab. If you do enjoy this video and you want to see more videos about the random stuff that comes to my brain in regards to pro wrestling, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. With that being said, let's get right into it. If you're not really familiar with the company, Chikara was founded in 2002 by Mike Quackenbush and reckless youth Tom Carter. Similar to CZW, the original idea of Chikara was to be that of a wrestling school, and it evolved into its own indie, with the first show including guys like CM Punk, Colt Cabana, Chris Hero, among others. The name Chikara, as well as its logo, is Japanese for the word strength. The promotion focused on mostly being family friendly with very tight-knit and wacky storytelling while maintaining a tight connection to lucha libre traditions through the actual wrestling, as well as using terms like rudo and technico to describe heels and babyfaces respectively. They called the matchmaker GM the director of fun, and the position was held by the likes of Quackenbush, Bryce Remsburg, and many others, including actor Bob Saget. And no, I am not fucking with you.
Hey Chikara fans, this is Commissioner Bob Saget here. Yes, I'm a commissioner and I'm also a gynecologist, so put them up and then hope it doesn't get too cold in the stirrups.
One of the more notable things about the promotion during its first 9 years in operation was the fact that they did not have a world championship. They had a Young Lions Cup for younger wrestlers in more of a traditional tournament format, and they had a set of tag team championships where they used the Spanish translation of tag team championships as the name, but they did not have a traditional world title. However, that would all change on February 3rd, 2011. Then Director of Fun Wink Vavasour announced that Chikara would be establishing its first ever proper singles champion. He asked the roster to vote for who they felt was deserving enough to compete for the title, with the only rule being that they could not vote for themselves. Claudio Castagnoli received the most votes with 5, and that was with him instructing most of his stable known as BDK to vote for him. While second place belonged to Jigsaw, who received 3 votes of his own. The other participants who qualified with 2 votes each were Amasis, portrayed by longtime independent wrestler and trainer Deshaun Pratt, Brody Lee, also known as Luke Harper, Eddie Kingston, Fire Ant, who is better known nowadays as Orange Cassidy, Hollow Wicked, Icarus, Mike Quackenbush, Sarah Del Rey, Ultra Mantis Black, and Vin Gerard. Vavasour would reveal that the tournament would be contested in a round-robin format, and if you're not familiar with the name of that or concept, it's the same format that tournaments like the Continental Classic in AEW or the G1 Climax in New Japan follow, where each participant wrestles each person in their block and collects points with every win. In this tournament, you received 2 points for winning and 1 for a draw. The leading point getters in both blocks would meet in the finals of that tournament to crown Chikara's first ever traditional singles champion. And with that, the tournament was set to begin on May 21st, 2011 and conclude near the end of the year. Before we got to this point, however, tragedy would strike. Alex Wybrow, known to wrestling fans as Sweet and Sour Larry Sweeney, tragically passed away on April 11th of 2011 at the age of 30 years old. Sweeney was well known throughout the industry as a wrestler and manager and was very well liked amongst his peers. He drew very much praise during his career for his promo style and how much of a throwback his gimmick was to the 80s glitz and glamour aesthetic that pro wrestling possessed, and his larger-than-life personality fit in wonderfully with what was going on at Chikara, and that's not even mentioning the fact that he was a graduate of the Chikara Wrestling Factory.
I was driving in the Trans Am and I looked out the window and I saw a sight, the likes of which I won't soon forget. I saw a bum. I saw a bum, Eddie Kingston. I saw a bum wearing an Eddie Kingston t-shirt! And I thought, how fitting that a bum should be wearing the shirt advertising another bum. And I got out of the car and I said, where'd you get that? And they said they were giving them away for free down at the halfway house, don't you know, because it's Thanksgiving week and they're in a giving mood.
In the weeks following this horrific news, Chikara announced that the tournament would be known as the 12 Large Summit in honor of Sweeney, named after his finishing maneuver and catchphrase. The tournament would begin, but not without its problems. Amasa suffered an injury and would eventually be replaced by fellow Assyrian Portal teammate Ophidian, who even suffered a broken jaw himself at some point and had to forfeit his match versus Icarus. Brody Lee wrestled 1 match out of his 5 due to an injury suffered, and when he had to pull out of his match with Eddie Kingston, It was iterated that Brody could return at any point, but he never did. Claudio Castagnoli wrestled 4 of his 5 matches when he pulled out of the tournament before wrestling the last match after signing a contract with WWE and becoming Antonio Cesaro. Outside of that, the tournament went on as planned for the most part, and by October 8th, both blocks had been wrapped up, and it was time for the finals. Block A was won by founder Mike Quackenbush, who led the pack with 8 points, while Block B was won by Eddie Kingston, who also led with 8 points. The match between the two would take place at Chikara's first internet pay-per-view, High Noon, on November 13th, 2011 at the ECW Arena, then known as the Asylum Arena in Philadelphia. Although I cannot find footage of it to show you, I feel like it is important to note before we get into this match that Kingston lost his last B-Block match to Vin Gerard by submission, and while this did not affect his status for the finals, Gerard would attack Kingston following this win and injure his leg. I haven't seen the finals before writing the script, but I felt like this was important to note going into it. With everything being said, this video will also double as a match breakdown, so let's get right into it. Oh, and Chikara, please do not strike me like old Robbie did. Referee Bryce Remsburg presents the titles to both competitors, raises it up high, and rings the bell as this match is now underway. Both men stare daggers into each other's souls as the fans chant sweet and sour. Both men lock up in a collar and elbow as Kingston gets the better of Quackenbush on multiple occasions, backing him up into a corner before the referee starts to count to 5. You could see Eddie selling that knee injury as he walks back into the corner. Another collar and elbow is initiated, with Quackenbush immediately getting the better of it, executing a wrist lock. Kingston and Quack struggle for positioning briefly before Kingston shoves Quackenbush off of him and they separate yet again. History repeats itself with another collar and elbow. Quackenbush gets control of Eddie's wrist before Eddie shoves Quackenbush off of him yet again. Quackenbush tries again to gain control of Kingston's wrist before Eddie just says fuck this, metaphorically of course because this is family friendly, and starts chopping Quackenbush repeatedly. Quack ducks a chop and bounces off the ropes only to be caught with a standing spinebuster by Kingston. Kingston again sells the knee. Quack drifts up to Kingston and bangs that knee, no diddy, into the ring apron because, say it with me now, the apron is the hardest part of the ring. Kingston gets up but is on one leg and gets shoved into the corner. Kingston counters an Irish whip attempt and Quackenbush flips over the turnbuckles only for Kingston to take him down with a clothesline. Eddie attempts to suplex Quack back into the ring but gets countered by Quackenbush, spiking his knee into the apron yet again. Quackenbush delivers a well-executed leg sweep and double knees to the chest but only gets a 1 count. Quackenbush immediately goes back to that leg, trying to twist it in every direction. Kingston fights out of it only to get a kick to the head for his efforts. Quackenbush bends the leg of Kingston and puts a submission hold on Kingston's lower leg. As Quackenbush continues the attack on the leg, Eddie catches him in a sleeper hold, but Quackenbush is able to counter out of it pretty quickly and continues the attack to the knee. Kingston grabs the rope to force a breakout, but that does not stop Quackenbush as he kicks the knee and Eddie goes back down. There's been very little offense from Quackenbush that doesn't involve the knee of Kingston, which is obviously the smartest approach possible. Kingston is able to get a slight reprieve as he kicks Quackenbush repeatedly in the face to break the toe hold put on. Quackenbush gets elbowed by Kingston in the turnbuckle. Eddie goes for a powerbomb but is unsuccessful. Eddie counters and tries to roll Quack up, but Quack gets the leg yet again and has Kingston in some sort of a leg bar type submission. Kingston quickly gets to the ropes yet again to break that submission. Kingston delivers some chops, but they seem to be rather ineffective as Quackenbush pokes Kingston in the eyes and delivers a DDT to the leg. Once again, an insane amount of offense directed to the leg. Quackenbush locks Kingston up in what seems to be a variation of a single leg Boston Crab as he traps Kingston's arms as well, putting a ton of pressure on Kingston's knee. Kingston gives Quack a claw to the face to break the submission, gives him an inverted atomic drop, and attempts a Yakuza kick, but gets countered as Quack goes into the ropes, and this time Kingston would be successful with the Yakuza kick. Kingston goes for a cover, but only gets the 2 count. As Kingston again tries to get back to his feet, Quackenbush kicks the leg in a sick looking spot. He locks Kingston in a figure 4 variation, but Kingston's just so pissed at that moment. Both men begin punching each other, and that evolves into slapping, but Quackenbush quickly regrets it. They get to their feet, Quack throws a pretty hard slap and runs to the ropes, right into a back suplex by Kingston. Quack pops up and takes a big lariat from Kingston, who goes for the cover for only 2. Kingston sets up for the Hurricane back fist, but Quackenbush blocks it, hits a Black Tornado slam, and rolls Kingston over on a crucifix for yet another 2 count. Kingston is still down as Quackenbush goes up to the top and delivers a picture-perfect swanton bomb and goes for the cover to get a very close count of 2.7. In the midst of this match going on, the locker room comes out to ringside and get an up-close look at the conclusion of this match. Quackenbush recuperates a bit and sets Kingston up for a lightning lock, which is a variation of a stretch muffler, and Kingston would get to the ropes once again to break the hold. Quack sets up for another Black Tornado slam, but Kingston fights out of it. Quack slaps Kingston again. Kingston attempts the Hurricane, but Quack ducks. Haha, get it? And hits Kingston with a fisherman's driver, and Kingston fucking kicks out at 1. Quackenbush has a double stomp to the knees and goes back to the top ropes, telling the crowd that the match is just about over. Quack attempts a double knee from the top ropes unsuccessfully, and Quack has a big target on him now. Oh, have the tables turned. Kingston kicks Quack's leg out from under him multiple times as Quackenbush staggers to the corner, gets to the top rope, and Kingston follows as both men are now fighting on that top rope. Kingston headbutts Quackenbush repeatedly and attempts a superplex as Quack fights out of it, gets to his feet on the top rope, and Kingston delivers the Hurricane to the now injured knee of Mike Quackenbush. Quackenbush begs for mercy, but Kingston is not going for it. Kingston sets him up for an inverted cloverleaf submission and is able to get the body scissors locked in. While Quack was in that hold for a long time, it looked like the match was going to be over, but Kingston was able to break it himself, and both men are now down for the first time in this match. Both men get to their knees and exchange blows. Quackenbush delivers rapid open hand slaps to the face and bounces into the ropes to deliver slaps twice, but Kingston no-sells it both times. Quack hits him with more rapid fire shots before bouncing off the ropes to walk into a clothesline by Kingston where Quack falls right back on his neck in a gnarly spot. Kingston immediately hits Quackenbush with a backdrop driver before hitting him with a tiger driver and 2 Hurricane spinning backfists in succession that eventually puts Quackenbush away to win the 12 large summit and become the first ever Chikara Grand Champion. Let's talk about the match really quick before we get to the aftermath. This is probably the best individual match that I've covered on this channel up to this point, and is in my personal top 3 of Eddie Kingston matches. I've said multiple times before how unfamiliar I am with Chikara's product, but this was very close to perfect in my opinion. The story told around Eddie's leg and how Quackenbush took full advantage of that from the jump was excellently told. The in-ring work itself was fantastic, and the atmosphere of the match in front of the roster and the fans during Chikara's biggest moment induced goosebumps. Before I get a comment about it, I know how much of a piece of shit Mike Quackenbush was and is the sole reason for Chikara's demise, spoiler alert, but he was a really fucking good pro wrestler, unfortunately. I've seen very few Quackenbush matches, but this was wonderful. From my perspective, it's one of those things where you have to appreciate the art even if you're not very fond of the artist. What a masterclass. As I was doing further research for this video, I came across this promo from Eddie Kingston in which he said this.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you never watched Chikara before, if you never watched 1 second of pro wrestling, you will be shocked and you will be awed by what Chikara gives you. And you will see fight that you've never seen before. I need this!
And I have to agree with him on that regard. I will leave a link to this full match in either the description, the pinned comment, or both. In the grand scheme, this event ushered a new era that put Chikara on the map as a premier independent pro wrestling company, competing with companies like ROH and Dragon Gate USA with a stellar in-ring product as well as top-notch production. On top of that, Kingston would begin his 924-day reign with the title. During this time would be the first time that I ever saw Kingston, and it would be in a promo battle with Kevin Steen, who was the reigning Ring of Honor World Champion at the time, where Steen called Chikara a bullshit Mickey Mouse promotion.
I think I need to add to what you're saying. Chikara's your home. Just so you know, I think Chikara is a bullshit Mickey Mouse promotion.
From the end of 2011 to June of 2020, Chikara saw a total of 8 champions throughout its near 8.5 years of the title being active, with only one 2-time champion being Hollow Wicked. The title would be deactivated once Chikara folded due to aforementioned piece of shit Mike Quackenbush's involvement in the Speaking Out movement. Before I send it home, RIP to Brody Lee, who passed away in 2020, and of course, RIP to Sweet and Sour himself, Larry Sweeney, who passed away in 2011. But yeah, that was the story of the 12 Large Summit and the Chikara Grand Championship. What did you think? Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video as I look for all feedback, positive or negative. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you do not miss out on any future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.